when he lost the decision, like Marlon Vera, like his face, you could tell that something was, and Song Yadong's face as well was sort of confused. I don't think he expected to win that, and I obviously Marlon Vera expected to win that, and I don't understand what the judges were looking at. It was definitely the closest one. I could see that Song Yadong could win, maybe like 2 times out of 10, but three in a row on this night, it seems a little like coincidental, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
all three cards this week, or within the last like 8 days or whatever, have been so controversial with their decisions. And I think there's just this pattern here where it's not a coincidence anymore. There's something bigger here. And I think the judging just needs to be looked at. I don't think the UFC can, though, because I believe the judging is state commission wide. Am I
right.
correct in saying that?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's really they just have to get out of Florida,
The
but that's
problem
another
here is
problem.
People in
Yeah,
Florida don't know how to judge fights. Um,
I don't think so.
but we see this outside of Florida. I mean, it just it is difficult to judge a fight, especially close ones like Song Yadong, Marlon Vera. But um, there are certain things that that I think are just archaic in terms of thinking. So if we go back and we talk about John Jones, Dominic Reyes, which I think was a wrong decision. Now the word robbery gets thrown around very loosely. Everyone loves to claim robbery, robbery, robbery. I think that is a little strong, even for John Jones and the Dominic Reyes fight. I've gone back and I've watched that fight 3 or 4 times. I've taken notes on it. I've scored. Now, granted, judges do not have the benefit of doing that, right? They have to
Right.
judge it in the moment. I understand that. But there are certain things that I think they look at, and someone that doesn't understand fighting would say that is a negative, but someone who does understand fighting would say that is a positive. So, for example, I'm going back to John Jones and Dominic Reyes because that's a fight I've studied so closely. Um, Throughout a lot of that fight, most of that fight, John was pressing forward. Dominic was seemingly on the retreat. He was staying on the outside, back against the fence, lateral movement. John was the one pushing forward. Now, someone that maybe is a little more uneducated in terms of the fight game might say, "Oh, Dominic Reyes is running away or he's backing up, so that means he's losing the fight." Well, no, not necessarily. The sport has evolved so much in recent years that just backing up doesn't mean you're losing. I mean, you could back it's a strategic move. I mean, we saw Stipe Miocic just he was on the retreat a lot when he fought Francis Ngannou. And why is he doing that? Well, because Francis Ngannou will take your fucking head off if you give him an inch. So you have to move back. You have to be evasive. That's just a strategy he has to do. And ultimately, he won that fight by just moving backwards and picking apart Francis Ngannou. And I think that's what Dom was attempting to do too. But these judges look at this fight and they say, well, John Jones is pressing forward, so that must mean he's winning. Well, if you're pressing forward and not doing, and not, that's not giving you any kind of advantage, and you're not dominating your opponent because you're moving forward, then what difference does it make? It's the same way where okay, Claudia Gadelha was grappling with Angela Hill a lot. But outside of the first round, was that effective for her? Was she the one inflicting more damage on Angela Hill? I don't think so. I think she was just engaging in more grappling. But when it doesn't do anything, like scoring a takedown is one thing. Scoring a takedown and landing ground and pound, that's another thing. I think there's certain things that these judges look at that they just someone with an elementary knowledge of the sport assumes this is an advantage, but it's not necessarily an advantage. You have to do more. You have to really build on whatever it is you're doing, whether it's pressing forward, whether it's controlling the center of the octagon, whether it's engaging in grappling or scoring a takedown. Those things alone, I don't think make you the winner of a fight. I don't know. What do you think?
I think you brought up some really good points. especially with the walking backwards thing. Octagon control in the UFC rules is the last possible thing you could score as
Right.
being effective. It's
Hmm.
the least effective strategy by the UFC rule sets. So you'd think if someone's backpedaling and giving up octagon control, but they're landing more effective striking, the more effective striker would win based on those rules, because striking is weighted more heavily than giving up octagon control. So I agree with a lot of what you're saying in that regards, and I think the takedown thing as well. If you land a takedown, but if you don't do much with it, what really was the point of the takedown? It's there's a lot to discuss there in terms of judging, because I really wish we could see what kind of certifications the judges have. What do these judges know? Like, I wish there was some unified way to see exactly how they view things. And I think that there's definitely some discrepancies here with what the judges think is going to win fights and what the rules say win fights. So obviously there's going to be some problems here with the
There's no
fans. No,
transparency.
there's no transparency.
That's a major issue, is these
Yes.
judges are faceless.
Yes.
They don't have to face the decisions that they make. We love to pick on referees, but ultimately, what does who is the third person that Bruce Buffer introduces in every fight? Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson. Oh, and the referee is this person. That
Yeah.
referee is there. We know their faces. We know their names. We get to see every decision that they're making in this event. These judges, okay, yeah, they give us their names, but like, we don't know who these people
No.
are. Who the hell are they? What? Why are they there? What do they do that allows them to be there? Why are they allowed to decide whether this fighter wins or loses? What are their qualifications? There's so much. And then another thing you said that's very true. We don't get to see their reasoning at all. We
No.
don't get to, maybe if we heard from them, we could say, oh, you raise a good perspective. I could see what you're saying there, but it's not. It's completely non-transparent, and it just leaves us to wonder. When you just leave people to wonder, they just start making up their own shit. All right, the fight is fixed, or the judges got paid off, or the judges don't know what they're talking about, this and that. Maybe if we actually heard from these people and got to see who they are and what they were thinking, we might change our minds. They could help us see things that we didn't see in the first place. We all think we're experts. Maybe these people are the real experts. Maybe they have something that we don't even think about, but that's not the case. They're instead, we're just supposed to take their shit and
Yeah.
just deal with it. But I
Overall, I think when Dana White himself says that there's a problem with the judging, I think there's a problem with the judging. And he's come and
yeah,
he's said that so many
Uncle
times.
Dana
Uncle
never
Dana,
wrong.
yeah.
All
No,
right.
he's always right. All
That's
right.
If you're going to be a fan of MMA, you have to accept something, and that is that Dana White is always right. Dana
It's
White
just it's
is
just it's a unified rule of
it's a
MMA.
fact of life. Now,
Yeah.
Uncle Dana, where is Fight Island?
You
Where
gotta tell us.
is that? Where the May 30th card? No, he said
Nah.
Arizona.